Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan. And this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. I just reverted back to my old intro. Muscle memory. It's great, isn't it? Today, we are joined by Heather Ann Ferri. She was a Broadway caliber performer who tapped alongside legends like Gregory Hines, and she also set a Guinness World Record, but she faced a health crisis that took away her ability to walk for 2 years. Heather, I have to start here. You said that if we don't have proper water filtration, that our body becomes the filter. So can you tell me, like, how did you figure that out, and what exactly is it that you do with water?
Wow, you jumped right into that section because we're mostly made of water. And, you know, when I was performing 10 years in show business in New York City, I didn't drink much water. I was a trauma person, sugar addict, running around, barely slept, you know, auditioning all the time, tapping in the clubs with the masters. That was spiritual. That was healing. But there wasn't much water. In fact, I remember the first nutrition class I took in New York City. You know, you have to list everything every day for like weeks, and then they look at it and then they analyze it, and they were like, well, what do you drink? Like, I didn't drink anything except for Mountain Dew. I loved Mountain Dew because Mountain Dew is like sugar all day long. And they were like, well, where's the water? And I came from Point Park University. You know, I studied dance. I got a partial scholarship. Even in our nutrition classes, we were still not really taught any of the importance of water. So I have to say it was roughly, oh gosh, I was run 38 years old. I had come back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to sort of deal with my family and why I ran away in the first place. And as my body was starting to shut down, there was, you know, I'm meditating, I'm talking to what I call God, you know, and I'm just trying to battle it out. Why is everybody sick? Why is all this stuff going on? And I got the message the water is bad. And then a week later, I got a client who started to educate me on water. Well, it's been 15 years later. And honestly, I'd love to do sort of a film on my journey. If anybody's out there and creative and wants to produce it, I've got the stories, like literally the stories. But I'm a little bit of the healer, modern version of Erin Brockovich in the sense that, especially in America, you'd be surprised at how little people, especially doctors and plumbers, know about water. Or water filters, you know, in that sense. So when I started to change and learn about filtration and then learn about medical devices from Japan, I started to drink a different type of water. And that started to allow me to actually unravel the frozenness I had because I came from childhood abuse, severe childhood abuse, where I was almost murdered by my mom with her own hands. And so, you know, there were a lot of my body was frozen.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was actually over medicated from age 10 to 16 from Western medicine, so I didn't trust that. And so the concept that water could actually do some healing things was like, nobody's talking about that, you know?
Yeah.
And as I was drinking this particular type of water, whether it's clean water or electrolyzed reduced water, two systems I work with, I started to cry. To cry, and then I started to cry more, which is a release, you know, your tears, the memories, your body's starting to unravel in a different way. And then I had a 15-year career in private trauma practice where I started to utilize sciences and throw some away. And I had a lot of therapists and doctors and scientists come to me. So I was like, sort of like this mad scientist, you know. That's kind of like the creative arts, to be honest with you, because I, you know, was writing shows at the end of my career and off Broadway. So it's honestly, it's very similar, but you can really bridge them. And I just started to see that when people got on a better type of water, that it was easier for them to heal. It was easier for them to absorb supplements. It was easier for them to cry. Crying was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
People had a lot more crying to do, you know, in our society, and it's a healthy thing. And I think, I don't know what kind of family you grew up in. I know a lot of my clients, their family system doesn't really like, you can't cry.
No,
Do you know what I
doesn't
mean?
allow
Like,
for it.
yeah, it's uncomfortable, and that uncomfortableness makes us stiff.
Yeah.
It makes us stiff. So that's a little bit of the venture of yeah, if you don't have a filter in America, we have 80 plus contaminants. That's just a fact. We actually have 3 parasites which link into sugar addictions.
Huh.
Because when you're detoxing on the physical level of sugar, because you have to detox emotionally too and psychologically, there is a physical component to this of why people can be addicted to sugar, because they may have a parasite in them that's going, hey, feed me.
Huh.
And it cuts through so we have 3 parasites in our water right now. And so you really want to be particular. And I don't want to sound salesy, but you just do after 15 years when people email me and they go, well, I have this water filter. And I go, okay, where's the third-party certifications on that? Oh, you drink that? Oh, do you know there's a lawsuit in Vegas happening right now on that bottled water? Oh, I just have a lot of information the average person wouldn't. So if they're interested in upgrading, they can contact me about that, because I have an free ebook on my website, Heather Ann Ferri. It was the first healing tool of 8 sciences. That I use. But yeah, that's a little bit on the water. So now I drink lots of water and I'm dancing again. So I'm not tap dancing, but I am dancing again.
Okay.
That's fun, as the release. And my body's able to do a lot more. Tap dancing's it's hard on the body.
Yeah. I can only imagine how hard it is on the body. And I mean, that would have been one of those things too, that like you had to train to get to the level where you were, and then having it stripped away from you because of your health, that would have really sucked. And I can only imagine how much you've actually had to rebuild yourself and everything like that, because what exactly was the health crisis that you went through? And was it caused because you were addicted to sugar in a sense?
No, I think so. The root of sugar, which when I work with women, I work with a lot more women than men in general. I mean, I work with some male CIOs. The kitchen is an interesting subject matter, your relationship in the kitchen, how you feel. We always go back to the childhood. And so my childhood story starts in the kitchen in a lot of different ways, and a lot of different memories. And some of those examples were when I was 8 years old. There had already been a lot of different problems in the family system with my parents. My dad lost his job, and then that caused a lot of financial and aggravation between the two of them. But my mom, when everybody was gone in the morning and I was getting ready for school, my mom would come in and attack me from behind, screaming and almost choke me to death. And this became sort of a Groundhog Day thing.
Wow.
So as a little girl, right away, you're getting brain damage. You're learning that there must be something wrong with you. What do I do? What do I need to do to stay safe in a house that isn't safe anymore?
Yeah.
Because your mom is supposed to be your nurturer. But I'd walk down the stairs to try to rush out the door, and I would see her at the kitchen table eating chocolate cake. Like my mom would buy a birthday cake on a regular basis and eat the whole thing in a second.
Wow. Huh.
So when I say we're sugar addicts, I mean we're sugar addicts. Like I was eating sugar 24/7. This was her numbing. And so as a child, I learned, okay, this is how we cope, because we're not allowed to cry.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to play, in essence. We're not allowed to be, so she was very much a dictator in my household. She scared me. I couldn't just go in the kitchen, open the refrigerator, and eat what I wanted to eat. She was controlling. And I describe it later on and in my journey as a slave owner and a slave, because I would learn as I'm healing ancestral that my maternal bloodline, my grandmother, her mother died during childbirth, father was nowhere around. And I start to unravel, the Black women lineage of slave women on sugar plantations, when you think of sugar plantations, and start to have rashes and things come up and memories, and realizing the sugar addiction for a lot of Black women or Blacks and Indigenous people is very rooted to that. When I also am very much deeply connected to Harriet Tubman. And, when you think of her story and the fact that she's this slave girl that wants to try the sugar and then all the beatings and the turmoil as a slave, we think that sugar is a special treat because of the way it came into the culture, but sugar is actually cancer. We know that now, and it's in so much of our products that it's hard not to be addicted to it. And a lot of people actually don't know it's kind of running the show. Which is really, it's like a really, wild. But so for me, when I was in my late 30s, and it became clear that I had emotional problems, relationship problems, and I started to go inside and meditate. I started to do energy work, that my body started to shut down, which unfortunately happens when you come from severe abuses. And so that's when my body started to shut down. I went to Western medicine, obviously went to physical therapy for 6 months. They did not have solutions. They made things worse because that system does not have the sciences I work with when people come.
No.
So I have had to learn a lot of sciences and use them as a dance, which I wish there was a trauma center with them. But we live in sort of a political challenging time with money and how things are used and who gets to do what. I talk about that. But what I've learned is that, so that's when so it was scary. When you talk, I was really scared. I had a lot of pain. I had a lot of stroke-like symptoms. And I ended up being underground. People would come to me with massive strokes that had medical degrees that would have been sort of disabled the rest of their lives. And through a 1.5 to 2 year process, they were 95% better.
Oh, wow.
And that's through these Eastern sciences and the water, definitely. To see somebody have tremors all day, and then drink a medical grade water and 6 weeks later, no tremors. That's where the scientists came in for me. And I started to go, and my creative arts came in a lot within this work because it's heavy work. It's dark work. And nobody wants to do it. That's why you're an addict, right? Though you don't want to actually go to that pain. But I guess what I want to share with the audience is if you can work with an expert, somebody that's kind of walk the walk, and really get the toolkit, you can get through that pain a lot faster than you realize. And the other side is so much better. My body, my state of mind, the way I feel about myself is so much better. But staying in the loop of the addiction is not the way that I wanted to live. People think of cocaine and all these other drugs as hard, but sugar is a hardcore drug too. It's kind of like cocaine in the frontal cortex of the brain because you're trying not to remember anything. When you eat a pie, you're like, I want to numb out because I don't want to remember how this feels. So going from world record and my body being strong to it falling apart was really an ego death.
Yeah.
Major ego death. I've had many of them. And they're important, to be honest with you. You want a teacher, a healer, an educator that's kind of been through the ropes. So that they can really give you tools so that you can move forward, as opposed to, I think we've had in society in America, too many people on platforms that kind of talk something that doesn't actually show the stats. They're just kind of on a stage, okay, well, but what are the actual practical tools to heal this, to work through this? And so that's where I think my blue collar roots come from. Growing up in the Pittsburgh city, we want to see some results.
Yeah.
Show me the results.
Yeah. Yeah, and sugar is one of those things that is vastly misunderstood in a lot of senses, and especially over here in America, sugar does run the world in a lot of different ways, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the things that are legal and sold over here in the US, like snacks and drinks
Yeah.
like Mountain Dew, over in the UK, they're actually banned and illegal because it's so filled with sugar and other things that are actually really bad for us. So, one of the first things I have to ask though is medical grade water, isn't that just bottled water?
No.
No.
So when you have, and I want to be politically correct, I'm not representing any companies here. I have to kind of put that disclaimer in,
Okay.
just for both of us, but I'll go down that road. So when you have water in containers that aren't glass or stainless steel, you're going to have microplastic issues.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that microplastic is becoming a huge issue, not just with land and soil, how we grow our food, or the oceans, but we're finding it in the body more and more. Like, for instance, dementia. Like, I worked as an independent contractor in senior homes for 8 years with Alzheimer's and dementia. Dementia has increased 10% now more, and they're finding microplastics in the brain.
Oh, wow.
So you do, in my opinion, you do have to have a water filter at home, and you have to fill up everything in glass or stainless steel. The question is, what is the water filter you're going to purchase?
Yeah.
My thing is I would go with someone, I'm going to be like me, who's been in the healing arts, who has the story. You can see the pictures on my website. You can read the ebook. You can ask questions. But I wouldn't go on a website that looks like, oh, we do this, this, and this, and they're lying because you don't know how to research third-party certifications. I'm an educator. I taught in 3 universities, so I'll be happy to educate anybody, but I find that the average American's overwhelmed. And the problem is we have 20,000 companies selling water filtration systems,
Wow.
and very few of them take out forever chemicals.
Huh. Okay.
Forever chemicals are not easy to detox out of the body, and forever chemicals are what causes all different types of cancers. So medical grade water. So I have a filter under my sink. And it creates what I would call the cleanest water possible. Very cost effective, by the way. It's actually one of the most cost effective things for the American family. The shower unit's $90, very different than like the commercial stores you would go into. You know what I mean? And the under the counter is roughly $800. We're going to just put the numbers out there. These are basic things that get you in the game. Okay? The medical device that I've used for 15 years is from Japan.
Okay.
Japan's hospitals are number 1 in general with healthcare, wound care, and longevity. They also treat their land sacredly. So they have ionized like healing water that you can go and soak in, and like your skin starts to change and everything starts to change. Well, we used to have this here in the state of PA.
Ah.
We used to have healing waters, and there's a whole, that would probably be another show if you ever want to do it. We can. It's a whole documentary on, well, who destroyed those healing waters in 1700. Then they started bottling the water and selling the water, and this became the movement of, we're going to take the pure nutrients from the land, we're going to steal it from the original people, we're going to murder them. And then we're going to have our fancy resorts where everyone all over the world can come to Pennsylvania. And nobody's going to really question it. And now we're in a place where water fountains are foreign. And now even with water fountains, we need a filter, unfortunately, right now. So my goal isn't just working with the consumer, just so you know. I'm trying to work with plumbers, companies, to get rid of using so much plastic water bottles, because we can't. The numbers are out of control. To also help families have the right thing in their homes so that they can drink this with their vitamins or their superfoods and actually absorb it and not be absorbing, prescription drugs or forever chemicals or parasites. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard because we're not having our leaders talk about this.
Yeah.
This is swept under the rug, but we have so much distraction.
Yeah.
And the thing, like, I want to say to the person out there is if you hear something very popular on every channel, question it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have to say. It's just because the companies that I work for, 53 years in the United States for the clean water, over 65 years in Japan, and that's a medical device under their FDA. Our FDA won't look at it.
Wow.
Even though a lot of the movie stars own them, but they're not actually using them right. So I teach my consumer how to use them. I have ebooks that you can use different types of water. Like, for instance, 2.5 electrolyzed reduced water, if you did PubMed research on it, which I show people, kills AIDS, E. coli. Like, if say you have strep throat, you take a teaspoon, you gargle, it's dead within 7 minutes.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah. So we need more people. Like I say, we need more men to do the plumbing aspects because that tends to be a little bit more of their thing. And we need women to be more of the educators on, especially on the Japanese device, how to use these different waters. I have a great team, but I find that the mothers in America are doing both right now, and it's too much. It's too much, you know.
Yeah.
It's like we need more men involved in this subject matter because water is the foundation.
Yeah.
We're mostly made of water, and there's just too much out there that's not like. Even what I love about the clean water company Multi-Pure, I can mention their name, is they do a free education class every month with their water specialist. You can go, you can ask questions. They update on what's going on in America, how they're trying to push regulations. So it's not like a regular, like this company is about movement. You know, they've been around 53 years. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And they've been the one to push in regards to forever chemicals and certifications. Which is so, and people, I have to say this, you can go on a website and they can word it a certain way that makes it sound like they're taking it out when they're not.
Oof. Okay.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah.
But you don't know what you don't know. And so all I say is if you're interested in upgrading or wanting to change, you know, just contact me and you can just tell me what you have and I can tell you pretty quickly what's going on, you know, or just, I've done that in many businesses, you know, or people just look and they go, okay, I'm going to upgrade this. But it's scary because there's no regulations on websites.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true.
If you really think about it. So if you don't understand that they can just add 2 words, it makes it sound like it takes it out. And then you're like, well, where's this? You have to go to the certification page. You have to go to the website that actually shows the third-party certifications for these things. And that's where the consumer can get overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, being overwhelmed is one of those things that the powers that be ruling the U.S. definitely don't want us to not be, because if we're so stressed and just underneath a lot of pressure that we don't know how to deal with, then we can't do anything to better ourselves, you know? And I'm one of those believers that the Western healthcare system is completely broken and can definitely need a huge revamp. And I mean, that's its own conversation as well. But whenever it comes to like your sugar addiction and stuff, how did you start getting out of that? Was it because of the water that you really started to see a difference?
Well, the water was the first game changer because it started to allow me to cry.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And through that crying, I could go inside more and start to go, well, why am I feeling this way about what happened with my dad in this situation or what happened with this person? And then I could write and then I could cry and release because I had so much emotional pain. You know, it's interesting. I would say 80% of my prior clients were women, and you would be shocked at how much they needed to cry over things, not just addictions, but just cry, and how it's just not something our culture. I mean, think about the workplace. Somebody dies and the next day you have to go back to work.
Yep.
So we're just not very caring anymore. But I also have to say that I've had male CEOs cry. They don't cry as much, but they needed to cry.
Oh, yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
you can still be a guy and have to shed some tears a little bit here about stuff. But yeah, I think that was the first initial, and then I work with brain protocols.
Okay.
PTSD, ADHD, childhood brain protocols that actually do have PubMed research and nobody's using them in the United States.
Oh wow.
I know. Yeah, isn't that sad? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they're different from like tapping or EMDR. And I think they're a game changer because it requires somebody to sit with themselves and learn different meditations, like different finger placements, different sounds. You know, they're not like English words, they're universal sounds.
Uh-huh.
And breath patterns, because breath patterns have a lot to do with traumas, and addiction is definitely rooted to some sort of trauma, whether it's generationally passed down.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found with the brain protocols is magic happens because it teaches somebody, if you've never been a professional dancer, then you start to train to be a professional healer for yourself. Where I'm just
Okay.
guiding you and I'm saying, okay, do that meditation for 11 minutes or do that for 8 minutes or, oh, make sure your breath is, I'm just the guide. But you're actually learning to retrain not just your brain, but understand I have a pain in my shoulder. Okay, put your hand there. What's that about? Okay, you're breathing. Oh, actually, it's this memory. Well, it's a stupid memory. Well, no, it's not. Let's talk about it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Those things write it. I want you to write in your journal now. And so, what I found, especially with the childhood brain protocol, is it helps people heal the deeper roots to their addictions. And it also activates more of their authentic self. So they either have career changes or partner changes, or they just start tapping into like, I want to play the guitar now, you know, and it's a side hobby. Or I want to, like for me now, I'm working on my singing after all, you know, that's something I enjoy doing because I wasn't allowed to have a voice. You know, I wasn't allowed through that journey. So I love the brain protocols because people can go back to their notebook. Like if you get in a car accident, first thing I say is get on the water, drink that water, a gallon a day, and do your PTSD brain protocol.
Oh wow.
And now you've got your toolkit at home. You don't have to go to me. You don't have to, you know, and so they have a toolkit, but it's different than relying on somebody else. And it's also more engaging. Like when you think of a professional dancer in tap dancing, yeah, I have to learn these patterns. But when I got on stage with Jimmy Slide and Gregory Hines, eventually I had to go, okay, who am I and how am I going to work these patterns to be my own?
Yeah.
And as an advanced healer, that's what I'm doing in the classrooms with people is I'm giving them toolkits and guiding them to then be able to be their healers and help their sort of environment. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because we can't change our outside world as much as we'd like to, and a lot of us fall into that category. I know myself especially of like, hey, I want to fix this, I want to help this, I want to do this. But if the inside parts of me are broken and just misaligned, then nothing else really will actually hold and take place and do what it should do. It won't heal the way that it needs to heal. And I mean, I can speak for myself. I've had many of those moments where either on my podcast or someone else's podcast, I've had tears flowing, and it's like, well, yeah, I feel silly. I know I said I felt like a fool at one point, but that was the thing is that I was also brought up to not cry. You know, I was told to not
Yeah.
cry at funerals, and it
Wow.
was one of those things where it was very much a shame if I did cry. And so, not too long ago, I actually had one of those moments where I could feel that I needed a big ugly cry coming on, and I was like, where is this really coming from? But then I've also learned that I don't need to necessarily question it in the sense of suppressing it and trying to figure it out, but just to feel it and
Oh,
let it
yeah.
out, because then afterwards, like, it was a solid 10 minutes probably of crying and like the snot running everywhere and just like, I can't talk. And but afterwards I felt amazing. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that, like, as we have these things, just life happens, everything just builds up, and it gets in the way of having a clear thinking, having clarity in the head, and just being able to have a clear heart too. And I mean,
Oh, yeah. I
yeah.
think what you said is beautiful. And, you know, for me, when my father passed away in 2022, I had a spiritual awakening, but some would say a nervous breakdown.
Mm.
And I started to hear him from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And he was worried about me
Mm.
because I was in a situation with a lot of psychopaths around me, and I didn't know what that word meant.
Oh.
My mom was basically a psychopath.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to learn all of this and do deeper healing in the last couple years. And what I would say is, I think we're at a turning point right now in time where, you know, everybody's been so, let's get online all the time, AI all the time. I think the new movement is going to be, let's find my authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
Let's connect to nature again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a few genuine friends that we can have honest relationships with and cry and hold space and care about each other. Let's see, like, I think it's gonna need to be more intimate
Mm-hmm.
in order for us to heal what's going on.
Yeah.
We're so outside of ourselves, and we all and I think the more intimate we get, and the more we can actually have a bigger effect, I think, on the shifts happening. You know, I mean, I'll just kind of bring it up, but, you know, the Epstein files were something I've known about for many years, being in different industries and seeing how some people get jobs and some people don't.
Uh-huh.
And being a woman that's attractive, I've had to walk away from a lot of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a surprise. We've got half the names we may not get, which is a lot of, you know, it's a lot of businesses in different sectors. And I think what it's kind of forced us all to do is, like, why did we put, like, why is somebody always on the pedestal here?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we come back into making sure we look in the mirror and realize that the most important thing we should worry about is our own actions and how happy we are? Do we have some love around us? Are we doing things for our environment and for the community, you know, as love? So I'm hoping that this sort of disruption that's happening, that's very much in everybody's face, is a wake-up call to force people to heal more, to go in, to then be more empowered in essence. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it totally does. And I agree with you. I do believe that the next shift or the next movement in humanity should be one that is rooted in authenticity and back to nature, because at the moment we're destroying it at record-setting break. Like, it's stupid, but I'm one of those people that love nature. I've been out in nature growing up, and I try to connect with it as often as I can. And I've learned how to be more authentic with myself. And that was the hard part. And I think that we're, and one of those things that you said is, like, why is someone always on the pedestal? And I think one of the things that I kind of had this epiphany late last year, and it was, I think people have equated money with moral goodness. And so if you got a lot of money, it means you've done good, and it's not necessarily the case. So I don't know how to get people to get their head out of their ass, for lack of a better term, but that's kind of the thing, is that it just shows that they're good with a business, and business is not being human, and being human is not really being a business. It's self-sovereignty. You know, that is one of the things that we do need, but it's
You're
really hard
bringing
to.
up something that, I don't mean to cut you off, but, like, you're bringing up something that's really important here. Through history, the holy person has been prosecuted. So the holy pure, you know, I'm coming into that pureness in my 50s, and that inner child and that playfulness. But people, you know, I say I channel Mr. Rogers, you know, from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. People thought he was very, you know, but he was actually, there was an intensity to him that people did not know.
Yeah.
Even though that he played with children and respected them way beyond most people. I think money has been handled in dirty ways, but money is not dirty. Money is supposed to be sacred. And we have to get through this dyslexia, because I think our traumas, unfortunately, have put weight on, we have actually financially backed the fakes or the lies, because we haven't had proper trauma healing. See, I don't think it's a coincidence that the sciences I work with aren't in mental health.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I had to go outside the box and people have to pay outside the pocket to work with me all over the world. That's not a coincidence. There's a danger when you have a trauma center that heals trauma because then you see the lies on the stage and you don't invest in them. So unfortunately, they create a system where we're giving them money when we're not really giving them to the proper, holier, pure people because they're humbler. You know, they're more sincere. You're not as arrogant, so there must be something wrong. You know, you're not, you know what I mean? And I've seen that, like there is a huge ego in certain rooms that play like they know it all, even in the healing spiritual world, and they don't know anything.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's just a game. And it's like, for me, I refuse to put those masks on. I will not play those masks, you know? And as a woman, when we look at slavery, trafficking, the stats, we have been sort of targeted more. Not, you know, but targeted more because the evil devil doesn't like the mother, the mother that creates what? Life.
Yep.
Mother, you know, and actually, you know, you start out with water. The devil doesn't like water.
Yeah.
The devil doesn't drink water. What does the devil drink? We won't say on here, but we know what the devil drinks, and it's not water.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things that you do bring up a good point. And I think that shame is one of those big things that a lot of people use without even realizing it. You know, I've spoken to Emma Lyons about the shame matrix and how society is basically built around shame and how shame is the comfortable space of others, and if you don't fit in their comfortable space, they shame you to make you feel bad. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold up. And after realizing that, I've been able to find where I shame myself, and by not shaming myself anymore, I can be more authentic.
I love that. Good for you.
Well, thank you. And
good for you. I've been shamed and I've been kicked out of a lot of tribes because I refuse to. They want to steal. They want to steal your gifts or your light, but they actually don't want to give you any credit. And they want to, you know, I was just reading something on, we're getting off the subject, but I was just reading something on this one tangent on publishing. And because I have a book out, but like the publishing industry has become extremely corrupted.
Oh, wow.
Authors make no money and they don't even know, they can't even look at the reports of sales, like of things. And so you go, what? That wasn't the way it was 30, 40 years ago when you were in publishing. So a lot has shifted. And I think us having these conversations plant seeds in people. Like if you're thinking, you're sitting there and you're down and out and you've been screwed over, betrayed or banned, you're not alone here.
No.
Hello, you're not alone here, you know, and all I can say is like, you know, the tools that I've used, some of them are really practical and simple, can really make you feel better and just make you help make, you know, some different choices. But, you know, whenever I always say to people, you know, don't beat yourself up for making a mistake. Don't beat yourself up. I did this in the past for not seeing what I say darkness. But just as soon as you see it, say, see ya, out.
Yeah.
Moving on. You know, make a change.
Yeah. And it's really hard to do that, you know, because a lot of the ways that everyone kind of does operate is from the shadow. And it's from those parts that are traumatized, the parts that are hurt. And they don't realize that because everyone else around them is doing the same thing. And it's like, it feels weird to be that authentic self because everyone else is being inauthentic. And so it's like, well, shit, if I want to fit in, then what do I do? And to fit in means survival, or at least it used to.
Right.
You know? And so nowadays it's hard to stand out from the crowd without being on the chopping block, if you will. And there's that saying like the nail that sticks out gets hammered. And it's like, that I feel like that's what a lot of society is doing today too, you know, just if someone is saying something that hits a nerve, it's like, oh, well, if I hit a nerve on that, why am I hitting that nerve? And why is it my fault that I triggered that nerve in you?
Sure. I think too, with podcasts, I feel like there's going to be a shift in the next couple years where more podcasts are going to sort of work with building something. Whatever that is for them, meaning, I mean, business, community,
Yep.
within their own circuits, as opposed to, because that's the only way we're going to be able to break out of matrix work in some senses, to
Yep.
build different types of systems. You
Yep.
know, even for me, like as a practitioner or a teacher, hooking up with a host and doing Zoom classes, you know, for their audience, and working in that way in a different sector than going into an organization per se.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, there's going to be actually more versatile ability in some ways, for people to step outside the box even more, especially I think with the exposure that's kind of in all our faces.
Yeah. And I mean, but that's the awesome thing too, you know, like technology is both great and somewhat evil. It really
Yeah, yeah,
depends
yeah.
on whose hands it's in, just kind of like money, you know?
Right.
And that was
Right.
one of the things, is that I had to change my relationship with money before I actually started understanding what it really was. And I was always under the impression that it was the root of all evil, without actually understanding that it's just a source of energy. You know, it is
Right.
a way to essentially transmute your thoughts and imagination into physical reality, in a sense. But it's one of those things that, had I not seen that I was having a bad relationship with it, then I would still continue to think that it was bad. And I would, as soon as money would hit my account, like, I would go and find things to spend it on. But that was like, oh, let's just do this because I need this, or I want this. But the root of it was, I just didn't want money because I thought it was so bad, you know?
Well, let
And
me say to you, we want good people to have lots of money and then use the money to change the problems that we see. So some
Yep.
of the usage of money is build a trauma center,
Yep.
change the water pipes, put water fountains in all the schools. So when you accumulate money, you set a part of it aside. You have to take care of yourself in whatever that way that means. And then you utilize it for how you interpret and investigate in good. You know, we thought that was going on, but I'll give you an example.
Okay.
A lot of times you'll find people that when they're selling big packages for coaching or speaking, or they're doing this or they're that, they're like, a part of it's going to be donated to what we'll call like a poor area of the world. And that donation will be plastic water bottles, which is toxic, and glyphosate food, which is toxic.
Yeah.
My theory is, okay, you may feed them water and food for a day, but why are they poor in the first place?
Yeah.
So if I had the money, I would go to that area, talk and figure it out. Do you need a water well so you have water consistently? Do you need soil? Do you need to understand how to plant food? Do you know what I'm saying? So we
Yeah.
don't have that going on enough.
Yeah. Society is very much a, let's just throw a Band-Aid on it and call it good. And that's how it was for me and my psychiatric needs, you know.
Yeah.
For a long time, it was very much like, hey, just take this pill and you'll be okay. But after a while, I could tell that I wasn't really who I was supposed to be. And after I spoke to Dr. Fred Moss, then my whole perspective on mental health, like medicine, changed entirely. And let me tell you, I feel 100 times better. So it's just crazy. And I think that we can do something different, but it does take a lot of that self-work first, you know?
Yeah.
Like in the recovery rooms, they say, don't, what is the actual saying? It's, you can't advertise by speaking it out and stuff. You just have to be the example. It's just like the saying is, like, be the change you want to see in the world. And we really do have to embody that. So what is one of the things that you help people embody within themselves to be their authentic self? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, you know, if they're doing a private Zoom coaching session, I think it's being in a space, how do I put this? I have ability when I'm in that, because usually I do a meditation and then I'm sitting across them. I have ability for people to take off their masks. And it's sort of sometimes a confession.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm not going to judge them,
Yeah.
whatever it is, but I'm just sort of going to allow them to speak it.
Yeah.
And once it's spoken, then we can go, okay, we're going to need to do we're going to need to do the ADHD brain protocol. We're going to need to do the childhood brain protocol. Or let's look at your diet, or let's look at writing, but there is a space in the beginning of healing, if you're a beginner, that you kind of need to be heard. You need to have an enlightened witness.
Yep.
You just need to be heard or be seen crying. And like, so with women, they'll apologize when they're crying. Like, because if they start crying for more than 5 minutes, it's a big deal. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to allow you to cry. Or I'm going to, sometimes I'm holding them because I'm an energy healer. It just depends on the situation.
Yeah,
Depends on their comfort zone. I've had women cry for 20 minutes in a session.
Yeah.
Pretty hard. Some women need to scream. But what do we do after that? We usually try to do something playful. So I usually try to get them to sing or dance. And it's not for judgment.
Yeah.
It's for their inner because we took that out of the schools, which is a disaster, the creative arts in general, which just taps into more of your authentic self.
Yeah.
More your authentic self. How do I, even with like, the book that I wrote, there's chapters after each chapter of questions.
Yeah.
And meditations for people to engage with me or their coach or their healer to start to figure out more. Like, one thing I realized through the brain protocols is like, people have some crazy, beautiful stories.
Oh, yeah.
But they're spending too much time on everybody else. Like we were saying, like they don't know enough about themselves. And then when they start to get into the muscle habit of investing in themselves, they start to like themselves better. They start to realize they have more to offer the world. They have more to offer their relationships intimately. Opens up a door of intimacy, but it's like, it's surprising how little people know about themselves. And I was there in the beginning, like I was there, so I get it. But for me, it's been a 20-year full-time job. I really, really have done a lot of personal work on myself. So I get it, but I get the power of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not in a society where we're faced with trauma every day with, unfortunately, our government and our news. They're so traumatic. It's unreal. It's just like, so yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, thank you for just holding a judgment-free zone for people to be able to take off that mask, because I do believe that not only is taking the mask off painful and difficult, but if you aren't validated with your mask off, then it just reinforces the idea of, well, this is why I have my mask on in the first place,
Right. And I don't project. Like, so a lot of the brain protocols, they're not English language. They're just universal sounds. So a lot of my talking, I try not to project. I ask questions and I allow them to talk a lot more than me.
Yeah.
Because when you're a victim of something, which usually tends to be something in addictions, a lot of storylines, you're wanting approval.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll listen to somebody, it could be a therapist, and they'll say something, you'll be like, well, I guess that's right. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm always telling my clients, I may not be right here. Call me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't agree with what I'm saying. If this does not feel in your body right, that's what we have to teach them. But if we're not teaching them that in the beginning, especially, there's this wanting, like, even like the whole forgiveness thing that people ask me questions about. I'm not the stereotypical forgiving heals. Forgiving doesn't have anything to do with healing. It didn't have anything to do with healing for me or a lot of my clients. Healing meant shaking out trauma.
Yeah.
Healing meant crying out trauma. I can't change my predator. She does not want to own up to any of it. So when I did forgive her and went back in with unconditional love, at the right moment, she stabbed me in the back again. Because those are what predators do. And my big issue in society is we have to hold predators accountable. There's consequences to physical abuse. There's consequences to sexual abuse. And it's not words, I'm sorry. It's, I've got to pay a debt. And I actually think that's financial, to be honest with you, because there's a financial debt for victims to heal.
Yeah. You've got a really good point there. Yeah. And
nobody talks about this. And
Uh-huh.
the forgiveness thing, if it's done too soon, it's just a lie. I've noticed with a lot of my clients. And then they feel bad, and then they're in this loop that they can't get out of. To me, like when I'm talking about forgiveness, I mean big bad things. I'm not talking about, you stole somebody's pencil in second grade. I'm not talking about I lie, a little lie. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about predators doing bad stuff, and then you're supposed to just forgive them.
No.
That doesn't heal either party, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Like I do believe that forgiveness can have a place for some people and for some stories and things like that. But I do believe that for me, my forgiveness aspect really was I had to forgive myself and forgive the parts of me that still wish I knew what I did then. I can only do what I did with the
Right.
knowledge that I had, and that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes. It's
Oh, it
like,
definitely is. Yeah. And
and
I think you just nailed it. I wrote a song about forgiving myself that I sing a lot to myself. That's a hard thing for, I speak with, especially with the women. It's a hard thing,
yeah,
to understand, like, how do you forgive yourself? And some of it is just for putting up with bad behavior.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Putting up with it or being the cause of other people's, or just the list just goes on. We have to, kind of like we were saying before, we have to be our authentic self, and being authentic means being able to say, hey, past me, like, I apologize, I forgive you, and here we go. Like, we're in it together, so let's win it. you know. And real quick, we are near the end of this episode. So you did say that everyone could find you at heatherannferri.com.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's pretty much all my social media, YouTube, Facebook.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And I mean, it's we still got a few more minutes, so I don't want to cut it too short because this is an awesome conversation. So we're going to rebrand the show soon, and so I would like to have you back on again, so that we can dive further into water and all the other kind of the trauma healing, because like you said, a lot of addictions really do have that trauma background. In fact, I think
Yes.
all of them do.
Yeah,
And
we can even do a little bit of one of the brain protocols if you want. You can be a
yeah.
guinea pig if you want to
Oh,
do that. We can talk afterwards and
yeah.
see what feels right to you.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
I was going to say the only addiction story that I've personally had the pleasure of interviewing the person for, I don't believe her route was trauma based, because it started from from a medication. So she got addicted to gambling because of a medication she was taking, and that was weird in its own right. And so, but I mean, it was still one of those things that you wouldn't believe it unless you talked to them about it, and they were just like, "Yeah, it just came out of nowhere after taking it," and it was one of those rare side effects that they mentioned too, like you might get addicted to gambling. Like, what the hell? Like,
Oh, wow.
so the world just operates in very weird ways, and I think that we have the quite unique ability to assign meaning to it, and how we decide to attribute that meaning to ourselves is kind of what paints our story, what paints the picture in the moment. And unfortunately, we don't know how to change that lens or change the paint to create a different story for the future self. And
Yeah.
if we don't do something in the now, we can't do anything with the present. We can't do anything with the past, the present, or the future. You know, and it is difficult to take that first step. It is difficult to even want to look in the mirror sometimes, because kind of like what you said at the very beginning, having that ego death and realizing that your identity is going to shift entirely whenever you change something, it's hard to do, which is understandable. Change is scary, and
Yeah, it
whenever we don't
definitely
know,
is.
Yeah. And a lot of us, we don't know what change is going to look like for ourselves because we've been ourselves for so long. So if I change this about me, what am I after that? You know?
Right, the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And I mean, you help people through the unknown. You help them get medical grade water, which is awesome. And I mean, water is one of the elements that builds everything around us. And I think that if we
Well, it's
understood,
simple.
uh-huh,
It's a simple thing. It's a simple tool that you don't have to think too much about yet, right?
yeah,
So to me, it's the game changer, like for men. So
mm-hmm,
in all the sales that I've done, it's usually the woman that decides in the household. I'm going to be honest with you. I
okay,
would say 9 times out of 10, it's the woman.
mm-hmm,
She's going to have to deal with it the most, especially the medical grade water and cleaning it every couple weeks. And it's very simple.
mm-hmm,
But I will say the stories of the men are very comical afterwards
oh
because
yeah,
the men tend to love it. They feel better, they have more energy,
mm-hmm,
they're sleeping better and all these different qualities, and it's just quite interesting. But even with men's health, with diabetes and cancers and dementia,
mm-hmm,
preventions as well,
mm-hmm,
because having worked in these industries outside the box, I can see that we're not talking preventions.
yeah,
It's a simple tool.
yeah,
It really is. It's just a financial tool, but you're spending the money anyway. Like every
mm-hmm,
household, even like I've been in low income households, and you can find a way. Like it's just really interesting to watch when you
mm-hmm.
just make that decision.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, one of the funniest stories that I have to relate to, like water being consumed by men, especially, was my ex-wife. Her family did a lot of custom harvesting, and so they would leave their like packs of water bottles out in the sun. And whenever the big studies first started coming out with BPA, they were like, "Oh, that's why everyone's getting really moody and emotional on site nowadays."
Yeah.
And so they stopped placing it in the sun, and the BPA stopped leaching into the water as much, and they started feeling better. So that was pretty funny. But
Right, right. And really, I mean, if it interests you, we could talk about really, there's some things we could do a PowerPoint privately with your audience. If you had
yeah,
5 or 10 people that were really interested in the subject matter, I do have PowerPoints. I've gone into companies, organizations that we can kind of go through some nuts and bolts, just basic stuff that kind of people go, what?
yeah,
What's going on here? And it's empowering because it's a movement that helps people's health, can help people's finance. It helps people's finances because you actually don't know what you're spending when you start to really look at all the toxic drinks.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Even I hate to say it, but the coffee shops, they're so expensive.
mm-hmm,
When you start to add that up even once a month, you pretty much have what you need.
yeah,
And then I just see it as being the superhero. You
yeah,
start to not have big corporations make all that money. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yep,
and that's very exciting.
yeah, yep,
Sometimes that's the motivator for people. Like, you got to find their motivation, even when they're traumatized. You got to find what motivates them to do this work.
mm-hmm,
And sometimes it's individual. It's really individual. For me, it was like, I don't want the devil to win.
yeah, yeah. I feel that 100%.
I don't want the dark to win. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do to keep going. And I've had some tough times, and because I've had a lot going at me, because the devil knows. Oh,
Yep. Oh yeah, that's for sure.
definitely knows. So if
Yep.
you're out there and you're like, yep, I've got the stories, you're in the right podcast.
Yep.
You found your home here.
Yeah. Well, Heather, thank you for everything that you've enlightened us with today, and I really appreciate it. It's an honor and a pleasure, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Yes.
And everyone else out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And as always, try to love yourself, love others if you can, but you got to love yourself first. Try to be your favorite version of yourself if you can. And if you're having a mental health crisis, you can dial 988 or text 741-741. And I mean, aside from that, just drink some good water. Don't leave your water bottle out in the sun all day. And with that, we'll see y'all next time. Schlan.